Coming up on today's edition of Vikings Now, we're going to be discussing if Justin Jefferson ripped or threw some shade at his very own quarterback, Kirk Cousins. A lot of NFL media members think so, but I have a ton of thoughts on that and why I don't think it's really a big deal whatsoever. Then we're also going to be talking about Alexander Mattison as he kind of caught a stray bullet from another NFL media member saying, he won't be able to live up to the hype of being RB1 in Minnesota next season. My name is Patrick Seatman. Thank you guys for joining us on today's show, today's edition of Vikings Now. But before we get into it, if you guys think the Vikes are going to run it back as NFC North champions next season, just go down there and give me a like on today's video. There's a lot of smoke over the Lions could win it, or maybe Justin Fields with his breakout year, maybe they could take over the North. I think it's a bunch of BS. I think the Vikes are going to run it back. And if you think so too, just go down there, like today's video, and show your support for the Minnesota Vikings. But now let's talk about it. I'm super excited to dive into today's first topic on the show, which is, did Justin Jefferson rip Kirk Cousins, by not putting him in his top 5? He had an interview at a convenience center, actually, and somebody asked him, hey, Justin, who are your top 5 quarterbacks in the league? And this is the list that Justin Jefferson had. No doubt he did have Patrick Mahomes as the number 1 quarterback. That is undisputed. I completely agree with him. 99.9% of NFL fans would agree with that as well. He did have Aaron Rodgers at 2, which is kind of one of the bigger curveballs. I think most people would go Burrow or Allen or even Hurts at the number 2 spot. But I just think since the Vikings played against the Packers the past couple of seasons, and obviously Rodgers, has had some pretty good games, as we know, against our Minnesota Vikings. So he had him at number 2, showing respect for the vet there. And then he did have Joe Burrow, his teammate, which I was shocked when I originally heard Jefferson listing out his top 5. I thought he would have just thrown Burrow as the number 1 quarterback just because obviously, they had that connection back at LSU with Jamar Chase. So a little shocked on that point. But then he had Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen. But overall, this top 5 would probably be my top 5 quarterbacks as well. Like, I would probably go Mahomes 1. I would probably go Burrow 2. I go Josh Allen at 3. But then at 4 and 5, you can make an argument with some guys like a Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, but I would probably go Rodgers at 4, and then I'll probably go Jalen Hurts at 5, since obviously he's coming off, the reigning NFC champ and all. But overall, Jefferson's top 5, I agree with it. But if you think Justin Jefferson threw shade at Kirk Cousins by leaving him off this list, let me know down in the comments section. I'll give you guys my thoughts here in a second. But Y for yes, N for no. Did Justin Jefferson throw some shade at Kirk Cousins? No, he did not. He just flat out did not throw shade at Kirk Cousins. I think this is getting blown way out of proportion. Honestly, I just think this is Jefferson keeping it real. Like, I like the honesty out of Jefferson. Like, if he would have answered this question and said, oh, hey, Justin, who are your top 5 quarterbacks in the league? And he steps back, he's like, oh, I got to put Kirk Cousins at number 1 on my list. I think we all would have looked at him with our eyebrows raised a little bit and just been like, Justin, you don't believe in that. Kirk's a great quarterback, a really solid quarterback, but he's nowhere near the top 5. I thought Jefferson was just keeping it real, and, I kind of respected it. But overall, Kirk, the amount of slander he gets amongst NFL media members, some people, think, he'll never get over that hump and all, and he's just not a big-time quarterback, and I get all that. But the numbers don't lie with Kirk, and he's had a great run here in Minnesota. 26 touchdowns, 6 picks in his first year. Followed that up with 35 TDs, 13 picks, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 29 touchdowns, and 14 picks, and leading the Vikings to a 13-4 record and an NFC North championship this past season. And my whole take is, we know who Kirk Cousins is. He's good, but he's by no means great. Like, I think the kind of jury is out on Kirk. It's like, we know what type of style he likes to play. It's, he's not the most mobile guy, but the play is on script and on time. Kirk can hit that spot and hit that kind of checkpoint with incredible accuracy. And we all know the old age-old joke with Kirk Cousins is that if it's 12 p.m. on a Sunday, he looks like Peyton Manning. But if it's a Sunday night game or a Monday night game, he kind of looks like a shell of himself. So Kirk, I would probably throw him in at that probably 9 to 15 range in the quarterbacks. Like, he's in that Jared Goff tier. He's a little bit better than Derek Carr, but he's still just a mediocre and just a good quarterback. Again, we know who he is. He's good, but he's not great. Next, coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about Alexander Mattison and if he kind of caught a stray bullet from an NFL insider when talking about the Vikings running production. But before we get into that, guys, we got a great deal going on right now. And if you go to chatsports.com/Vikings jersey, you can get this sweet Jordan Addison jersey for you guys. He will be wearing number 3 for the Vikes this upcoming year, and I expect to see a lot of number 3 jerseys in US Bank Stadium. So if you guys want to take advantage, go down there, chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. I'll put the link in the comment section and the description of today's show. But Matt Kelly was the one who sort of threw some shade at Alexander Mattison here. He was doing a deep dive into the top running back rooms in the NFL, and this is what he had to say about Mattison. He said Alexander Mattison is a cardboard cutout, average at everything. Running back that's just good enough to put, or he's a running back that is just good enough to put in for a couple games and not embarrass the coaches. That's who he is. And, listen, he's not wrong. Mattison isn't by no means a top 20 back in the NFL. He's just okay. He is a serviceable backup running back. I mean, Alexander Mattison, we kind of thought, in his limited reps last year, he would have been a little more productive. But in the games when he starts, he is a good running back. But I think the whole kind of thing with Mattison and why I am kind of excited to see him play next season is I want to see what he does when he's like, hey, you are the number 1 running back. We're giving you full confidence. Let's see what you have, because we have seen it. When Cook has missed time over the past couple of seasons, Mattison stepped in, and he's done a great job as being that workhorse back. As a change of pace back, Mattison's not the best. But, this past year, listen, when you average 3.8 yards per carry, by no means is that good. We all get on, Dalvin Cook for his low yards per carry this past season. Mattison was even worse. But right now, how the Vikings running back room sort of shakes out. I've been saying this for a while. I do expect Alexander Mattison, no doubt. He'll get RB1 reps. He'll be getting, 20 to 25 carries during that first month of September. But I do think eventually we will see guys like Ty Chandler, Kene Nwangwu, Dwayne McBride start being thrown into the rotation more. And you guys know this. I am a big fan of Ty Chandler. I believe it is Ty Chandler season. I've been pounding the table for this. I have been a big fan of him ever dating back to his Tennessee days in college before he obviously transferred to the University of North Carolina. We saw the pop during the preseason games last season for Mr. Ty Chandler, but his college stats, absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. 603 carries, 3,138 yards, 26 touchdowns, 5.2 yards per carry during his college career, which is impressive considering you get 600 carries under your belt, and he had 5.2 yards a clip. But a scouting report on Ty Chandler, he's 5'11", 204 pounds, real dense body. He's real twitchy in that. But when he runs, incredibly long strides. That's huge. He can turn up quick. He gets north fast. He's a big plant-your-foot, one-cut running back, which I think fits well into the Vikings running scheme. And he's a willing blocker. Obviously, he needs to work with a blitz pickup a little bit and understanding assignments. We saw Kevin O'Connell talk about that during minicamp about a month ago now, but he said Ty's just got to work out on overall adjustment and just blocking technique and all that. But he's a willing blocker. He wants to do it. It's something he's just got to work on, and he's got good hands. He's got solid dual threat ability, and I would love to see a running back screen for Ty Chandler where he just houses one in September. Maybe that will give him the spark to maybe eventually be the full-time running back 1 for the Minnesota Vikings. But I'll ask you guys this question. I obviously do anticipate and expect it to be Alexander Mattison as the Vikings leading rusher next season. Well, let's see what you guys have to say. Who will be the Vikings leading rusher heading in or at the end of next season? Let me know down in the comments section. As always, guys, you guys can give me a follow on Twitter. Trying to up my Twitter game here a little bit. The @ is @PatSeatman. I'm going to be talking about the Minnesota Vikings all leading up to Week 1 versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when Baker Mayfield and his squad comes in the US Bank Stadium. So if you guys want to stay up to date on all Vikings news and rumors, also give me a follow on Twitter, and I will give you a follow back. The handle is @PatSeatman, and we'll see you guys next time. SKOL Vikes.